Ava Miller came home earlier than expected that evening. She was tired from her work trip, carrying her small suitcase behind her as she pushed open the front door of her parents' house. She wasn't planning to stay long, just grab a few things she had left and head back to her own place. But the moment she stepped inside, she felt something strange. Her parents' voices floated from the dining room, soft, excited, almost giddy. Ava slowed down, her footsteps becoming silent on the wooden floor. "Peach or gold?" her mother whispered, sounding thrilled. "Gold looks more expensive," her father replied. Ava frowned. She stepped closer to the dining room doorway, confused. Her parents were sitting with papers spread across the table, color palettes, flower samples, and what looked like seating charts. They were deeply focused, pointing at little boxes on a printed layout. A wedding? Whose? Curious, Ava leaned in a little more, listening. She heard her parents talk about decorations, music, the guest list, and then the venue. Her heartbeat picked up. Emily hadn't told her anything about a venue yet. Last time they spoke, her sister said she hadn't decided anything. Ava was about to walk in and ask what was going on when her mother's voice suddenly cut through the room. Sharp and clear. "We'll use Ava's beach house. She owes us. It's the least she can do." Ava froze. It felt like someone had struck her in the chest. Her beach house? The home she bought after years of saving and working late nights? The place she treated like a safe corner of the world? Her mind raced. She waited. Maybe she heard wrong. Maybe there was a misunderstanding. But then her father replied, "Yes, it's perfect. The backyard faces the ocean. And we can move things around to fit more people. Emily deserves the best." Ava felt her breath catch. Her mother continued, "Ava won't mind. She never complains. She'll just go along with it like she always does." Each word felt heavier than the last. Her parents spoke as if her house wasn't hers at all. Like it was something they could use whenever they wanted. As if she was just expected to agree, expected to give, expected to sacrifice. They didn't even think to ask her. Ava slowly stepped back from the doorway, her hands beginning to shake. She felt a sting behind her eyes, not from sadness alone, but from the painful realization that her family had already made plans for her property without her knowledge, without her permission, without even considering her feelings. It wasn't just a house. It was her space, her boundary, her hard work. Yet they divided it, decorated it, and handed it over to Emily's wedding plans like it belonged to them. Ava pressed a hand against her mouth to keep from making a sound. Her chest tightened as she backed away quietly, each step feeling heavier than the last. By the time she reached the hallway, she was trembling, caught between shock, hurt, and a deep betrayal she couldn't yet put into words. Ava Miller had always been a hardworking woman. At 32, she was a successful software consultant, someone who built her life from the ground up. Nothing had ever been handed to her. She earned every step, every promotion, every dollar through late nights, long hours, and pure determination. But her success didn't come from a place of confidence. It came from years of being overlooked. Growing up, Ava was the eldest daughter, the responsible child. Her parents, Patricia and Charles Miller, expected her to do everything right. She helped clean, she helped cook, she helped take care of Emily. If something needed fixing, Ava was the one asked. If someone needed to sacrifice, Ava was the one chosen. Her younger sister Emily, for years younger, was the opposite. Emily was charming, pretty, and full of energy. She made people laugh, she drew attention, and she always found a way to stay in the center of the room. Their parents adored her. They praised her for the smallest things, her smile, her style, her little achievements. To them, Emily was the golden child. And Ava? She was the dependable one. If Ava got an A, her parents said she should. If Emily got a B, her parents celebrated her like she had won a trophy. Ava learned something early in life. No matter how hard she worked, she would never shine as brightly as her sister, not in her parents' eyes. This left wounds that never fully healed. She was always the one expected to be mature, always the one expected to adjust, always the one expected to give up her needs for the family. And because she was so used to giving, her parents never truly saw her feelings. They didn't see Ava the person. They only saw what she could provide. By the time Ava grew older, she had a quiet fear inside her. A fear of being used, of being taken for granted. She craved love and connection, But she also pulled back because she didn't want to be seen only as someone who served others. When she finally started making good money, she dreamed of having something that was just hers, something no one could take or claim, something that represented who she had become after all those years of being ignored. It took years of saving, planning, and pushing herself, but eventually, she bought her dream home, a $1.6 million beach house. The moment she stepped onto that property for the first time, she felt something open inside her. The ocean breeze, the quiet mornings, the wide windows, everything felt peaceful, safe, hers. The house wasn't just a house. It was her escape, her sign of independence, her proof that she mattered. But even after all of this, her relationship with her family didn't change much. They still treated her like the backup plan. If Emily didn't want something, Ava was expected to take it. If the family needed money, they looked to Ava. And if they had decisions to make, they often made them without considering her feelings, assuming she would just agree like always. Ava felt torn inside. She wanted a close family. She wanted to be loved for who she was, not for what she could provide. She wanted her parents to respect her boundaries. But every time she let herself hope, something reminded her that nothing had changed. She still felt like the girl who had to make all the sacrifices. She still felt like the daughter who didn't matter as much as Emily. She still felt like the one who had to keep giving, even if it hurt. So Ava built emotional walls around her heart. Not to push people away, but to protect herself. Because deep down, she feared that if she didn't protect her life and her peace, someone would take advantage of it, especially her family. And she didn't know yet, but very soon, that fear would become painfully real. Emily visited Ava one afternoon, showing up at her door with a bright smile and a box of Ava's favorite pastries. The moment Ava opened the door, she felt something was off. Emily was never this sweet, not without a reason. "Ava, I missed you," Emily said, hugging her tightly. Ava raised an eyebrow. "You saw me last week." "I know, but still." Emily laughed a little too loudly and walked inside like she owned the place. Ava watched her move around the living room, complimenting everything: the sofa, the view, even a simple candle on the table. Emily never cared about these things before. Ava tried to relax, but something felt strange. The sweetness, the compliments, the sudden interest, it all seemed fake. Soon, their parents joined the conversation through video call. Patricia talked about dresses Emily liked, and Charles mentioned the number of guests they were expecting. Ava listened quietly, wondering why everyone seemed to be talking around something. No one mentioned the wedding venue. They kept saying things like, "We found the perfect idea, and we'll tell you soon," but they never actually told her. Anytime Ava tried to ask where the wedding would be, they quickly changed the subject. Ava felt her stomach twist. She wasn't stupid. She knew they were hiding something. She just didn't know what. Not yet. After the call ended, Emily stayed behind. She pretended to scroll through her phone while making small talk, but her eyes kept drifting toward the windows that faced the beach. "Ava," Emily said sweetly, "did you ever think of, hosting events here? This house is so open." Ava felt her heart thump. There it was, the first hint. But she didn't answer. She only forced a smile and said, "It's my home, Emily. Not an event center." Emily laughed awkwardly and changed the subject again. Ava pretended everything was normal, but deep down she felt a cold wave of worry. Later that evening, after Emily had gone to the guest room to freshen up, Ava walked past the hallway and heard a familiar giggle. Emily was on the phone. Ava wasn't trying to spy, but the sound of her own name made her stop. "She'll do it," Emily whispered, laughing. "We're doing it at Ava's beach house. Don't worry, she never says no. She just pays." A pause. "I told you. She's always the responsible one. She won't make a scene." Ava felt the words crash into her like a storm. She leaned against the wall, feeling something inside her crack open. The disrespect wasn't new, but hearing it spoken so openly, so confidently, made her chest burn. So that's why Emily was acting sweet. That's why her parents avoided the venue question. That's why they were all behaving strangely. They had already decided. They had already claimed her house. They had already counted on her silence. Ava closed her eyes. Years of hurt, years of being overlooked, years of being treated like she didn't matter. All of it rose inside her at once. She wasn't angry because of the wedding. She was angry because they didn't even think she had a right to say no. For a long moment, Ava stood there quietly, letting the truth settle in her heart. Something inside her shifted, something strong, something she had kept buried for years. She realized she couldn't keep living like this. She couldn't keep being the daughter who always gave, the sister who always sacrificed, the woman everyone expected to use. Right there in the hallway, listening to Emily laugh about her, Ava made a silent promise to herself. This time, things will not continue the way they always have. Parents became pushier the moment they sensed Ava was not fully agreeing. It started with small things. Her mother would call and casually mention wedding ideas, saying, "It'll look beautiful there," as if the location was already settled. Her father kept reminding her how important Emily's big day was and how family should support family. Ava didn't argue, but she didn't say yes either. She simply stayed quiet. But her silence made them more aggressive. Emily began acting like the beach house belonged to her. She walked around pointing at walls and corners, saying things like, "We can put the cake table here," or "This area is perfect for the photo booth." She didn't ask Ava. She didn't even look at her. She just assumed everything was hers to control. Ava tried to stop her a few times, but Emily waved her off. "You won't mind," she said lightly. "You're not even using the house." Ava felt her patience cracking, but she stayed calm for now. Then things got worse. One afternoon, Ava drove to her beach house only to find strangers inside. 3 decorators were carrying boxes, taking measurements, and discussing color themes. "What are you doing in my home?" Ava demanded, her voice shaking. The lead decorator looked confused. "We were told to start planning the space for the Miller wedding." Ava's stomach dropped. "By who?" "Your parents," the woman replied. "They said we had full permission." Ava's hands went cold. Her heart started pounding, but she forced herself to breathe. She told the decorators they needed to leave, and luckily they listened. But the embarrassment, the disrespect, it burned. She thought that was the worst of it. It wasn't. The next morning, Ava arrived to find a wedding planner at her front door, smiling, clipboard in hand, and holding a key. Her key. "Good morning. I'm here for the full site walkthrough," the planner said cheerfully. Ava stared at the key, her voice barely a whisper. "Where did you get that?" "Oh, your parents provided it," the planner replied. "They said you wouldn't mind. They said they had a spare made years ago." A spare key, copied behind her back, used without her knowledge. Ava felt her entire world tilt. Her parents had taken her trust and used it like it was nothing. They had treated her home like it belonged to them. They had opened her doors to strangers without even telling her. Something inside her snapped. That evening, she confronted her parents. They didn't look guilty. They looked annoyed. "Ava, stop overreacting," Patricia said. "We're doing all this for Emily," Charles added. "Why can't you be supportive for once?" Ava felt her voice rise. "It is my house. You cannot give people keys to my home. You cannot send strangers inside." Emily rolled her eyes. "Oh please, Ava. You're being dramatic." Ava turned toward her sister, anger shaking in her bones. "You are planning your entire wedding at my house without even asking me." Emily crossed her arms and smirked. "You're 32, single and living alone. What do you even need a beach house for?" The words cut deeper than Ava expected. They weren't just rude. They were cruel. A direct hit to every insecurity Ava carried since childhood. For a moment, Ava couldn't speak. She felt years of pain rising inside her. All the times she had been called too serious, too responsible, too mature. All the times Emily was celebrated while she was ignored. All the times she was expected to give, without anyone thinking about her feelings. "You have always been selfish," her mother snapped. "We're asking for one thing. One. And you're making it difficult. Maybe we should distance ourselves," her father said coldly. "If you can't support your own family, that says a lot." Ava stood there in silence, feeling the old familiar ache, the ache of being the unwanted daughter, the backup plan, the one expected to sacrifice everything. But this time something was different. She didn't beg. She didn't explain. She didn't cry. She simply looked at all 3 of them, and felt a quiet strength slowly rise through her chest. They thought they could bully her like always. They thought she would crumble. They thought she would give in. But Ava was done. She didn't show it on her face, but in her heart, the decision was made. She would not let them walk all over her again. And she was already planning a response they would never see coming. Eva spent the next few days quietly collecting proof. She asked the decorators and the wedding planner to confirm in writing that her parents had given them permission to enter her home without her knowledge. Emails, messages, notes, everything she could get, she saved. Each piece made her blood boil, but also gave her a sense of control she hadn't felt in years. Then she contacted a trusted real estate agent in secret. Eva explained the situation carefully, without revealing too much. She wanted a clean, fast solution. The agent assured her that it was possible to sell quickly and quietly, giving her full control over who could access the property in the future. A few days later, the family gathered for what they called a wedding planning meeting. Eva walked in, her heart steady and her face calm. Emily smiled at her as if victory was already hers, and her parents exchanged knowing looks, expecting the usual compliance. They didn't know Eva had changed. Everyone started talking about catering, flowers, and the setup at the beach house. Her mother leaned toward her. "So Eva, are we good to start moving things in next week?" Eva raised her hand slightly, interrupting the excitement. She took a slow breath, letting the silence fill the room. Then, in a calm but firm voice she said, "You can't use the beach house. I sold it." The room froze. Emily's face went pale, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. "What? You can't. You..." Her parents jumped up, shocked and angry. "Sold it? How could you do that without telling us?" Eva didn't raise her voice. She stayed steady, letting them react. "I've collected all the proof. You've been entering my home without my permission. You've been using my property, my trust, and my generosity for years. This ends now." Emily's hands trembled. "You can't just, it's our wedding. This was supposed to be easy." "It's my house," Eva said quietly but firmly. "Not yours. Not anyone else's. I've worked for it. I've saved for it. And I finally chose myself." Her parents' faces turned red with anger. Patricia shouted, "You're being selfish. This is ridiculous." Charles added, "We've always supported you, and now you betray your family." Eva's calm didn't waver. She continued, "You've manipulated me, dismissed me, and treated me like I didn't matter for my entire life. I've always been the responsible one, the one expected to give and give, but no more. This is my life, my choice, my peace." Emily tried to argue, but Eva held up the proof she had collected. Emails, notes, messages, the undeniable evidence of her family's unauthorized access. Then Eva delivered the final blow. The beach house isn't just sold. It's being purchased by a private wellness retreat company. No family events, no weddings, no parties. The space is no longer for anyone but those who respect the rules. Emily screamed, her voice breaking with frustration. "You can't do this. You've ruined everything." Her parents yelled, tried to negotiate, tried to guilt her. But Eva stayed calm, her eyes steady, her tone unwavering. The room had shifted. The power was no longer with them. For the first time in years, Eva was in control. She didn't need approval. She didn't need permission. She didn't need anyone to value her, because she finally valued herself. And in that moment, as her parents and sister sputtered and argued around her, Eva realized something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in a long time. She was free. Eva moved into her new condo a few weeks after selling the beach house. It was smaller than her old home, but it felt peaceful and safe in a way she hadn't experienced in years. The walls, the windows, even the small balcony overlooking the city, all of it belonged to her. For the first time, she felt completely in control of her own space. She unpacked slowly, placing each item exactly where she wanted it. Every decoration, every book, every little piece of furniture felt like a statement. "This is mine, this is my life, and no one else gets to take it from me." Once she settled in, Eva made a firm decision. She blocked her parents' access to her new condo. No surprise visits. No calls at odd hours. No demands for favors. She set strict boundaries that she intended to keep. It wasn't easy. She had spent her whole life putting others first. But this time, she chose herself. It didn't take long for Emily to notice. The messages started coming the next morning. Texts full of guilt and emotional manipulation. "I can't believe you would do this to your own family. We're just trying to make things special." You're being so selfish. I thought you loved me, Ava. Ava read each message carefully, then deleted them one by one. She didn't respond. She didn't need to. She knew responding would only reopen the old patterns of guilt and obligation. Her parents tried next. Calls in the evening, emails, and even a few visits to the building lobby. They begged, pleaded, and tried to twist her feelings. We're just disappointed, Ava. We thought you cared about family. But Ava didn't budge. She stayed calm and collected, refusing to let them control her emotions or her decisions. The anger and disappointment that used to paralyze her were gone. Instead, she started to focus on herself. She joined a yoga class nearby and spent mornings walking along the river, enjoying the quiet. She cooked meals she loved without worrying if anyone else would like them. She even began taking on small freelance projects just because she enjoyed them, not because anyone expected her to. Every day, she felt a little lighter, a little freer. The fear of being overlooked or used by her family slowly faded. She realized something important. She had spent her whole life thinking she was too much, too serious, too independent, too ambitious. But that wasn't true. The truth was, her family had never been able to see her value. They had judged her based on what she could provide, how well she could sacrifice, and how much she could give. They had never appreciated Ava for who she truly was. Now, in her quiet condo, she finally understood that she had been enough all along. She had worked hard, loved deeply, and built a life she could be proud of. And for the first time, she didn't have to measure her worth by anyone else's standards. Ava smiled as she poured herself a cup of tea and looked out at the city lights. For the first time in her adult life, she felt a sense of calm and accomplishment that wasn't tied to her family's approval. She was healing. She was choosing herself. And slowly, beautifully, she was learning to love her own life. Ava walked slowly near her new home, the evening breeze brushing her face. For the first time in her adult life, she felt light, like a weight she had carried for years was finally gone. The city lights twinkled around her, but it wasn't the view that made her heart feel full. It was the quiet peace she had finally found within herself. She thought about everything that had happened, the years of being overlooked, the sacrifices she had made, the ways her family had tried to control her. She remembered the hurt, the anger, the nights she had cried quietly alone. And she realized something important. She had chosen herself. She had chosen her peace over their approval. And it felt liberating. A small smile formed on her lips. She didn't need anyone to validate her life or her choices anymore. She had created a home, a life, and boundaries that were entirely her own. She had stood up, taken control, and refused to let others dictate her worth. Looking at the path ahead, she whispered to herself, I lost the family I grew up with, but I found the woman I was meant to become. The words felt true in every part of her. There was no anger, no bitterness, just clarity and quiet strength. For the first time, Ava understood that losing the approval of those who never valued her wasn't a loss at all. It was freedom. She took a deep breath, feeling the calm settle around her like a warm blanket. Every step she took forward felt lighter, stronger, and certain. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. Ava had finally found herself, and in that discovery, she found a peace she had never known before, a peace that was hers and hers alone. Hey friends! Thanks for watching all the way through. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.